Hi, I'm Lindsay Schaffhausen with Law Officer live at IACP in sunny San Diego, California. And I'm here inside of Oshkosh's Sandcat with our Cruiser Corner columnist, JP Molnar. Thanks so much for joining me today inside the Sandcat.
Absolutely, Lindsay. Thanks for having me.
Well, I just have a few questions for you as we're sitting here in the car and having some fun. And since you're a Cruiser Corner guy, I'm just kind of curious to see how you got started with testing and driving cars and teaching in high-performance racing schools.
Well, I guess it all started when I was about 14 years old. I started with go-karts and then moved on to different production racing cars for a number of years. And then right around 1990 or so, I went up to the Regional Law Enforcement Academy in San Diego, California, and talked with a Lieutenant John Lease up there who was a car guy. And I had been teaching at some racing schools, and a lot of my students were EVOC instructors from all over Southern California. And I asked him about teaching as an academy instructor. And at the time, they didn't really accept anybody that wasn't a full-time officer. But being that I had the background, he was a car guy, he and I worked together with the community college district to become an EVOC instructor, and one thing led to another, and I was there about 8 years. And in the process of doing that, I also became what at the time was a level 1 reserve officer with San Diego PD, went through a full San Diego Police Academy, and then moved on from there with racing and what have you to Tennessee, and I kept in the law enforcement area as a deputy sheriff with Williamson County just south of Nashville, still doing the racing stuff, and then continue to do product consulting and development up with car companies and racing schools until about 2003. And then I was with the Nevada Highway Patrol as a state trooper up until 2007.
Now, were you also a former state trooper? Is that correct?
Yeah, up until last year, I was a trooper in Nevada, originally in Las Vegas for a couple of years, and then up into the Carson City area just south of Reno. So worked first urban environment, and then worked rural environment just outside Reno.
Well, it sounds like you've definitely probably seen a lot, having worked all over the country. What are some of the most dangerous and crazy things you've seen in your law enforcement career?
Well, I guess it'd start with, Vegas doesn't get crazier than that. Working the graveyards down the Strip, you pretty much see everything and everything. Pretty much, you have people that, the old thing about stays in Vegas, that type of thing happens in Vegas, stays in Vegas. You get a lot of that going on there. So just, crazy crashes, stolen cars, drugs, pursuits, you name it. There's always something, wherever you work. And then, on the other hand, working in rural areas, you've got, situations that occur that are really far away from things. So you're pretty much on your own out there too. So you've got to take care of business until you get help. So it was a little bit of balance. I'd say, with Vegas, it was pretty much, anything you can think of, from crazy pursuits to crazy people running around to carloads full of people doing wildings and kidnappings and you name it. It's a little bit of everything. So no shortage of excitement.
Yeah, sounds like it. Well, since you've seen so much and been through so much in both larger and smaller agencies, what are some key officer safety points that you would offer our viewers and our readers out there?
Well, in terms of traffic stops, what I'd offer, number one, is, as a state trooper, definitely advocate the passenger side approach for conducting, traffic stops. Even if you're in an urban environment, not even just on the freeway, just because I think it gives you a better viewpoint of the vehicle, it gives you a better tactical advantage, and also keeps you from having to worry about the traffic going by. That was pretty much a mandatory thing when you're working on the freeways, because you just don't want to be hit by somebody's mirror or somebody that's focusing on you on the side of the road. Next thing you know, they start drifting towards you, and then they end up. We've seen too many cases over the years where officers that are on the driver's side end up getting struck by a passing vehicle, and it really has nothing to do with the vehicle they stopped. So that's certainly important. The other thing I'd say is, take your time. There can be a tendency when you have a lot of officers on scene, or if you're the first officer to stop somebody, to rush things, and take your time and assess the situation. And if you need the resources to get the job done correctly, then do it at your pace. Always do it at the pace of what you need to do to get the job done, and not at the pace of the violator. That's real important there too. And if you're not sure, then take a tactical position and get the resources and help you need there, and then go. Ideally, that's ideal. Sometimes things happen very quickly and you just have to address it right up front. But by and large, when you have the time available, then use it.
So are there any training tips that you would have for officers in terms of driving schools they should attend? Do you have any favorite driving schools where officers can learn defensive and offensive driving techniques?
Well, the thing about driving is that it's pretty much a skill that you use your entire life, whether you're on duty or off duty. So any opportunity you have as an officer to better your driving skills, and we just did an article not too long ago on the Bondurant School. Certainly EVOC is a great foundation for new officers, but you have to practice. I mean, driving is a perishable skill. I mean, if you don't practice the skills that you learn in the academy or you learn in a professional driving school on a regular basis and develop good habits, then it really is not going to be beneficial in the long run. Probably the biggest thing I would suggest to you as far as a driver is to look as far ahead down the road as you can. I mean, if you're looking far enough down the road, then things aren't going to surprise you. And having a good field of vision is by far the most critical thing. And whether you're as an EVOC instructor, we teach that to really assess situations early on so that you can work within the capabilities of your vehicle. And even the racing school, same deal. I mean, the earlier you see things, the earlier you can prepare for them, and there's just less surprises.
Great. Thanks so much for taking the time to hang out in the Sandcat with me from Oshkosh. And you guys out there, stay tuned for more Law Officer Live at IACP.